A very good morning to all of the viewers, and on the behalf of Parul Institute of Law, Parul University, myself, Dr. Rajesh Singh, the moderator of this event, I warm welcome our eminent speaker and distinguished guest, Mr. N. Venkataraman, who is the Senior Advocate, Supreme Court of India and Additional Solicitor General of India. First of all, I will just give a brief introduction about Sir. Sri N. Venkataraman sir is a senior advocate and noted jurist in the taxation and commercial law and one of the most sought after the council. Has been appointed as an additional Solicitor General ASG of India in the Supreme Court. Sri Venkataraman sir is one of the youngest advocate to be designated as a senior advocate in the year 2006 at early age of 39 years and for his best performance at the court. With an unblemished career of more than 31 years of the professional practice before the Honorable Supreme Court, 23 High Courts, including the Chartered High Courts of Bombay, Delhi, Calcutta, and Madras, and the provincial and the circuit benches of the High Court of the other state. Mr. N. Venkataraman sir, spheres of the expertise and knowledge spans over the indirect taxes, direct taxes, international taxation, constitutional law, regulatory laws, including the competition law, gas and electricity matters. Moreover, his proficiency in the public law received an accolades in the Honorable Supreme Court in the Sabrimalia case, wherein the constitutional bench was pleased to refer the case to the bench of the 9 judges. Mr. Venkataraman sir has also frequently addresses the law student of the most prestigious law school in India on the various issues concerning the nation, nationalities, ethos, values, and the legal issue connected to it. So on this platform, sir, I warm welcome to you. And I just tell Dr. Ruchi Tiwari, who is an associate professor at Parul Institute of Law, to warm welcome our guest, Mr. N. Venkataraman sir. Ruchi Tiwari, ma'am.
Good morning, sir. So it's my privilege and honor to invite you on behalf of Parul Institute of Law, on behalf of Professor Dr. 𝘾𝙊𝙉𝙎𝙏𝙄𝙀 sir, who is our dean. Sir, at PIL, we are lucky enough to have you as one of the eminent speakers. Dean sir has given me the privilege to invite you, and I take it as an opportunity. So, I invite you on behalf of Parul University. Thank you,
sir. Now just I will tell about our Parul Institute of Law. Sir, we have right now we have 5 years courses of BA LLB, BBA LLB, and BCom LLB, sir. Sir, we have around about 500 students and 100 students in the 180 students in the LLM program, sir. We have right now, sir, 28 students as a PhD scholars in our university with a different 6 specializations, sir. Sir, we are one of the leading university at Gujarat, sir, and we want our privilege that today you are at the platform at Parul City, and we are very much thankful for this kindness, sir. Now I am handing this session on the topic of this on this webinar for now. Session is handing to you, sir, to Venkataraman sir.
Sharada Amboja Vadana Vadanambujai Sarvata Smakam Sannitin Kriya. Parul University, his dean, and Dr. Rajesh Singh, Dr. Ruchi, the students who have logged along with me in this platform, besides those watching in the Facebook Live. Dear friends, it's a pleasure to relive young moments in life. And whenever there is an occasion to be with students, I've never said no, because it's first a learning process for me, more than trying to share what little I know with others. Because you're all very updated, you're all way ahead of us in many things. Therefore, the whole idea is I will broadly give an outline of theme. And then we will try to engage in a discussion, which will make it more meaningful rather than making a monologue speech. See, this is the first question I want to pose to all of you. Can you decide how to be born, where to be born, when to be born, and to whom to be born? The second question, can you decide how to die, when to die, where to die, and how to exit from this world? So, if you say, yes, I have a complete control over both, then you are a very different and an exceptional person to be respected. If you're going to say, no, I don't have a control between the two, on these two aspects, the entry and the exit, then ask the third question, when you have no control over your entry and exit, how is that all of you or all of us feel that we have complete control over our lives when we are alive? This is the first question which you need to ask before you probe into the further question whether somebody should respect religion, somebody should believe religion, somebody should have faith in religion. Ask that question. Can you be in complete control over all your affairs? There again, experience over a period of time teaches us the fact that there is something which you need to do as efforts, but there is something called results which can happen in spite of efforts, which need not happen in spite of efforts, and can happen even without efforts. Therefore, the disconnect between human effort and the fruits that an action can bear is a mystery in human life. Therefore, as more and more we become material, when we say material, faith in human ego, faith in the human body, and the ability to be aggressive and determined, shortens or stunts or actually stops or even decays our ability to understand the inner principles of life. And that is what we call it as religion, irrespective of any religion is. When we use these expressions, we use it as a common expression and not to signify any particular religion. So that is what our Supreme Court has also time and again said. Religion is a way of life for everyone. It unravels the mystery of things which are otherwise not known to us, which you can neither experience it nor presume it, in short. Because these are the two which a human mind and a human intellect is capable of capturing. It will say, I have this experience, so this is life. For somebody, diamond will be an interesting product. For somebody, something which want to hate, and somebody says, I'm very indifferent, it's just a stone. So human experience on a particular object is at variance. There is no consistency. Similarly, the presumptions we make in life need not necessarily be correct every time. And therefore, there is a mystery beyond these experiences and presumptions, what we call it as religion. And religion is completely dependent on faith and belief. All right. Why are we speaking this now in a law university? Because our constitution guarantees practice, propagate, and profess one's religion as a fundamental right under Article 25, subject of course to public order, health, and morality. So, subject to these three limitations, any citizen of this country is entitled to practice, profess, and propagate his or her religion. It's a fundamental right. So, let's spark the theme of religion here. We will now go to the theme so religion is purely based on faith and belief. It is not science. And it is not contingent about proof. It depends only on uniform, consistent, time immemorial traditions, customs, practices, and usages. And of course, validated by texts, which the religion adores it as its fittest document for its connection. So this is how religion has been interpreted by the Constitution. Now, one thing is very clear. Religion is extremely personal. And of course, it is individuals who collectively gather as society, and therefore it becomes a right even against the society as long as the three limitations are followed. This is the crux of religion. For the time being is enough. Now, what is secularism? See, secularism is a commitment by the state that it shall remain neutral to all religions. Secularism is not becoming irreligious. See, religion is something given as a guaranteed right to its citizens. Religion has to be understood qua the citizens. Secularism has to be understood qua the state obligation. It is often, it exchanges, it swaps places. And that is the trouble which we are facing day in and day out in a democratic society. So, what do you mean by secularism? See, India traditionally is known to assimilate, view, experience life as divine. Everything is divine. Anything you see is divine. That's the inheritance which we have as a country, irrespective of the religion one professes. However, we have taken to a constitution which mandates that the state will remain neutral. It will not support a particular religion or oppose a particular religion. So, Indian constitution is not a theistic constitution like Pakistan or Bangladesh or for that any matter other countries, Middle East and various other countries. So, we are not a theistic constitution, we are a secular constitution. Secular constitution doesn't mean that the state has to profess or propagate atheism. That's not the criteria or condition for secularism. So it is, you neither have to promote theism nor have to promote atheism. You need to be neutral and indifferent. That is the obligation of state when it comes to secular credentials. Now, religion qua the citizen, secularism qua the state. Where is the flashpoint? Where is the melting point? Where is the flashpoint? Where is the area or zones of conflict that we experience day in and day out? That is because of what we call it as a democratic polity. See, assume for a minute, how do we, as a citizen, how should you practice your constitution? Because constitution is our Gita. We are bound by it. And as lawyers, as law students, as citizens, it's our moral and ethical and legal duty to uphold it at every point of time. We have the responsibility and the duty to uphold the Constitution. So, when individuals have a fundamental right and state has a moral duty to ensure that one doesn't get into a zone of friction, as a citizen, how can this be best practiced? It can be best practiced if you allow practice of religion for your own progress as something within your home, something within your community, something within your society of people where you have the same alignment of thought process. You cannot transcend this line and exceed it and come into public domain, which in the name of professing or propagating, one has no right to hurt anyone's religion at any point of time. It's nasty, it's indecent, it is immoral, and it's unethical. And time and again, courts have pronounced very clear verdicts on that to say that practice or professing religion doesn't mean hurting another religion. So we have no business to do that. This is the limitation each citizen has to practice when it comes to his religious fervor, religious tolerance, religious attitude, either in public or in private. Now, what happens historically is when we frame the Constitution as a democratic polity, going by the backdrop of what happened in prior to 1947 and just immediately before 1947 and post 1947, this Constitution was written, say, 75 years ago, 72 years ago. So the Constitution, though had guaranteed religion as a fundamental right, though did not use the word secular, even though Supreme Court 9 judges said it was always a secular constitution and came only by way of an amendment in the 42nd Constitutional Amendment. Now, what happened as a backdrop is, and as a matter of practice is, the beauty of India is we are a plural society. You take the majority religion, it has thousands and thousands of castes. You take the other religions, they, through the constitutional process, has been identified as minority religion. These are all constitutional designs. So, you have a major religion which is fragmented into caste. And you have other religions identified as minority religions by the Constitution. And when you run the democratic polity, ultimately, democracy works in India, or for that matter, any country works is through the power of franchise and voting. And you reach governance only that way. That's the only mode today available in the world, and that too in India. So, when it comes to the major religion, democratic polity plays the game in the name of caste. And there are several things which are assured even in the Constitution, which necessarily needs to be supported, because there is something which all of us have a social duty to ensure people, at least people with whom we come into contact, if they are found to be oppressed, then we have a moral obligation, a constitutional duty to ensure what little can we extend to say they lead a life of decency. It's an obligation. It's cast on every citizen. And it is human. And this is the philosophy in which the Constitution was drafted, to ensure we uplift them to the best of our abilities, with a unified and unison mind, with a unison thought. This is the constitutional objective. But what happens in reality is political game and election game and democratic polity plays a different real life games, which we have been seeing elections after elections in this country. And unfortunately, in India, no government is able to perform beyond a point of time, because it's like a quarter. As we go for semester examinations, we go for quality half-yearly examination. You constantly have to face elections, because it's a big country with a federal setup, and elections happen round the clock, round the year after year, and every quarter. So this is becoming a live issue when it comes to the major religion. When it comes to minor religions, there is this sub-fragmentation of caste is not much. And therefore, the consolidation is aimed at the religion itself, at the level of the religion itself. So you break the majority, then you consolidate the minority, and then try to win elections in the name of religion, has been the working methodology for 7 decades. See, why I share all this to you as students is, now each one tries their best to contribute. You have a challenge ahead of you. You have to unite yourself. you will have to address this at some point of time so that all of you, the sense of togetherness, the sense of belongingness, the sense of an Indian ethos, the sense of an Indian value freedom needs to be restored. And all of you have a constitutional obligation because you are law students. And that's why I requested Dr. Rajesh, this topic is not to talk about or profess about a particular religion. This is not a religious discourse. It's a constitutional discourse on what is religion and what is secularism and what is democratic polity in our constitution. So this is the basis on which the political struggle happens, and it becomes aggressive, it becomes violent, it becomes turbulent. And today, what happens? You have an elected government, and when the elected government, whether it's a state or center, it's the same, because you have this same type of ROCOs, same type of protests happening even at the state level when legislations are passed. So when a constitutionally elected government is in power and it wants to do something, it may be good, it may be bad in the perception of the people. If it is bad, the constitutional process says go and test it in courts. Whereas we have found out a new mechanism that the public at large can be brought to oppose it and ensure. So these are all new creations. You must grow with it. See, this will all only grow further. It will only deepen. It will become stronger in your lifetimes. But you must, instead of being part of it, not being part of it, as lawyers, apply your mind dispassionately as to what is the process that is happening. You can't be emotional like any other citizen is. You have a moral responsibility and legal duty to find out what is happening. Is this a constitutionally sustainable mechanism? Irrespective of the decision being good or, we are not taking any particular act to see whether it's good or bad. The topic is not on that. So these are all the things which are happening successively now in the last 15-20 years, and especially in the last 10-12 years. So youth has a challenge. You are on a crossroad, because democratic polity now works only on these blends, is what is the challenge, is what is the confrontation. And as a result of this, there is a radicalization. You get fundamentalism. You get support in the form of terrorism, bloodshed, violence, all in the name of religion. So, it ultimately, if you go through the constitutional process, the constitution guarantees you to practice, profess without hurting anyone's religion. So, I have brought 3 parameters. Now I'll bring the 4th parameter, so that the 4 pillars are brought into record. And of course, there's a 5th pillar also to it. And then we can take questions. So one is religion. Another is secularism. Third is the real life democratic polity. And now 4th is the role of judiciary in interpreting these aspects. Because you're going to be part of the system soon, or some maybe even be part of the system already. See, if you see the design of the Constitution, you will find Article 14, 19, and 21, the golden triangle, preceding Article 25 to 28. The equality clause, the freedom clause, and the liberty clause. So this triangle nuances or enhances individual freedoms and liberties and guarantees, subject to the test of equality. Then comes Article 25 to 28, the guarantees to profess, practice, and propagate religion, subject to whatever the constitutional design is. Then the tail end of it is Articles 29 and 30, which deals with the rights for the minority religions. So, religion is packaged between 14 to 21 and 29 to 30. So, it all finally depends on how judiciary views constitution. If you see the history for 70 years, any attempt to nuance, enhance the privileges of individuals through 19 or 21 has or exerts a direct pressure on 25 to 28. Because it will go even, there are judgments which even takes you to the extreme of feeling, does the constitution mean religion being, it respects an atheist as much as somebody who follows a religion? Because as somebody has a right to practice religion, somebody can also be an atheist. And he should also be respected. He also has other constitutional rights. He may be different from you in practice of religion. Otherwise, he's a citizen. So you have to respect him. So in this bandwidth, if judgments are going to enhance or nuance more and more of individual liberties of freedom and liberty and equality, it interferes on the aspects of faith and belief, which is the foundation of any religion. And as a result, what is happening to the modern youth, students like all of you here, you all believe that rights and freedoms are far superior than religious beliefs, faiths, and practices. This is exactly the impact which all of you are facing today in life, as a matter of fact. So to you, these are more fundamental than practicing one's own religion, because you see democratic polity is played only on the religious card by everyone. And it has been done for the past 72 years, without exception. So your lifetime, your real life experience of democratic polity and the comfort which courts give you saying you have the liberty, you have, so from a religious model, you slowly move away into an individual model. Constitution means it has to be only about individual rights and liberties. It's unconcerned about society. This is the conclusion a modern mind very easily comes into, because I'm talking to students. I say all this because I learned from all of you, your experiences, your views. So I have to necessarily address those views. So this is, as young citizens of India, judicial interpretation, real life politics, and the constitution as a document, there is a complete disconnect. One doesn't actually gel with the other. And all of us think nuancing individual liberties will achieve a bigger or a greater society. Individuals have to be nuanced. It's a continuous process. But each country has its own traditions. Each country has its own ethos, its value system. This country is called the 𝘾𝙊𝙉𝙉 by the whole world. It respects us for our invaluable treasures which we possess, which has antecedents running to millions of years before the constitution was made. And therefore, our constitution has brought it as part of part 3. If constitution has diversity, that's a different story. When constitution has said this needs to be protected, nurtured, and also professed or propagated as ethos, I am not talking of a particular religion or a particular religious ritual or rite. Please understand. The country has a value system. inherited over a period of time. When I say, what is the difference? So you're saying the same thing in a different way. No, I say different things with different ways, intention. When I speak of, I do render religious discourses regularly. When I speak of when I render a religious discourse, I deal with that religion and deal with people who profess that religion. But when you wear the robe as a constitutional lawyer, as somebody speaking to students, this is not what I'm attempting to say. Please understand the difference. What I'm attempting to say is, this nation has citizens who are plural in nature, in terms of castes, communities, and religions. But all of us value India for its own treasures, which is common to all of us. There is no difference there when it comes to our inheritance of our ethos, which is time immemorial. All of us claim a prayer over it. Now, can that be a meeting point for all of us to converge, which happened 30 years back in my life? Amongst our friends, we did not have the insecurity one over the other when we were school children. Whereas all of you face insecurity, because the fifth angle is the public domain, the public media, the social media, individual media, all put together. It is no longer confined to press or media. It's the whole lot. So all this aid you and give you the freedom to express whatever you feel you can. And therefore, public domain is now filled with thoughts, irrespective of whether they are right or wrong. Because the logic today is, who are you to say I'm right or wrong? I can express whatever I feel is right. If it is wrong to you, it is right to me. So, rights and wrongs are vanishing. What I think right is right to me. So nobody can adjudicate. There is no ground rule to say which is right and which is wrong. And we say all this in the name of freedom. And therefore, the real life democratic polity, aided emotionally with technological opportunities for you to express whatever you feel that you can express in public domain, creates aggression, chaos, confusions. And no young student is interested to know what is the truth of life. We didn't undergo this challenge when we were law students. Whereas all of you are undergoing this challenge. So you are blurred. You have no idea about what our treasures are, irrespective of the religion to which you belong. You are now wearing a mask. You are wearing dark colored glasses, which blurs your vision. And you are given the liberty by the world to say your ego matters the most. Nothing, you need not know anything. You can express opinion on anything. It's like me talking for 1 hour on COVID. What will happen to all of you if I give a lecture on COVID? Today, millions of people are giving lecture on COVID. Whether they know about it or not, no criteria. No, there's no proof. You need not be knowledgeable in what you speak. So, I'm flagging all these issues in a youth's mind for you to actually assimilate and understand where you actually stand today in the world. And you are promoting it and being part of it and nuancing it and enhancing it further. You have to apply your mind. It is your country. See, unless a country has its own peace, our country as a tradition has assimilated values. That is secularism, pre-constitutional secularism. What is pre-constitutional secularism? Anyone who comes to this land inherits the soil, finds himself or herself to be part of the soil, respects the values and sentiments and the emotions and the traditions of the soil. So, true Indian secularism is an assimilation process. Whereas the scheme today you have all over the world, including India, is not an assimilation process. See, in assimilation process, you have only duties to perform towards each other. I should respect your religion and you should respect my religion, for which we must first know and practice our own religion. Now you don't practice your religion, and when you don't practice your own religion, how will you regard or respect somebody's religion? You can say, yeah, I have to respect, that is all, it's only verbal. Unless you go through these emotional experiences, how will you respect somebody's value? So, the system of secularism, which is time immemorial in India, is assimilate the greatness, richness of this ethos and be part of it. And all of us could live in peace and cooperation in cycles. And whenever there was aggression or invasion or enmity or fight or hatred or violence, then it has only produced volcanoes. So we have recorded history showing both. So as a youth, as a student, especially as a future lawyer, what is going to be your contribution in ensuring all of us live peacefully and in harmony? Peace and harmony was a natural state during our school days. It's becoming an unnatural state in your school and college days. So it's time for you to think. You got the 5 verticals clearly: the religious vertical, the secular vertical, the democratic vertical, the legal vertical of judiciary, and of course the media. Now, unless all this shape well, you at least as lawyers, I'll take another 3 minutes, 10:40, and conclude and take questions for 20 minutes. As lawyers, your role is to align yourself with judiciary and contribute your very best in ensuring this discussion of fragmenting the majority and appeasing the minority and pitting. Suppose a decision comes, immediately, when I say majority and minority in decision making, I don't mean it from a religious angle. A few is opposed to a decision of a Supreme Court, immediately they will go and say this is a majoritarian view. Now what's wrong? Because in a democratic society, you can't please everybody every time. You have an obligation not to displease. But the greatest happiness is the greatest number. And if it can encompass religions and caste in multifold, and you still go and say, and no, this is majoritarian view, and declare it. Now you try to give some decision in favor of a minority for some reason, then immediately somebody stands up and says, this is appeasement. So don't get into these terminologies. These are all simply patal for each one of you. Harness, be friend, unless you are friendly with your own communities and with communities of other religions and castes. Unless this is basic human requirement. You don't need a constitutional mandate to thrust it on you. How do you evolve? So, youth is one point where you can either become inflammable or stand for unity and peace. You now have a choice. We didn't have a choice because we led a peaceful life in our youth. We are seeing all these things happening in the last 10, 15 years after we have become sufficiently aged. Whereas you are traveling with this chaos. You are part of a chaos. Anything, there is turbulence. Anything, there is violence. So you have a role to play. And see whether can you work towards peace and harmony, for which you must be extremely religious. You must have faith. And you must respect every religion and every caste. And whenever there is an occasion for you to lift somebody in society, put your shoulders to that and move the wheel. You can do 5 people in your life, doesn't matter. Do it for that 5. It's not that everybody should reach millions. These are if individual dimensions achieve that perfection, then social dimensions get re-engineered properly. And when social engineering recorrects itself, then the nation moves forward with prosperity and growth. So with these words, I thank Rajesh for constantly talking to me. And it's a wonderful person, so lovable he.
Thank you, sir.
And,
sir, it is a really a great pleasure, sir. And sir, you are the senior most advocate, and you have a vast experience. You have elaborated this topic in a very systematic way, sir. Sir, you have elaborated the 5 pillars, that is the religion, secularism, democratic, legality, and the media, in a very specific way. Sir, basically our students have gone through from last 3 days, they are working on this. So I just ask the students, first of all, I will ask Mr. Chinmay Gandhi to put a question on question to sir. Mr. Chinmay Gandhi.
Yes, sir, please. Sir, my question to you is with regarding to the Constitution of India as guaranteed. I want to ask you that anti-conversion law affects the freedom of religion and secularism.
See, there is a clinical answer to it and there is a real life answer to it. Propagation cannot lead. You can propagate your religion, you can profess your religion. But where does it say you can go for forceful conversion? Before you reach the point of anti-conversion law, you must cross that stage of the practice which is rampant in India of forced conversion.
Right.
If you say, deny and prove there is no forced conversion in India, then the antidote for that is also not required.
I see.
If you have this, then you have to balance the system, is one school of thought. I don't want to say right or wrong and give a conclusive approach because I'm a serving law officer. But you must understand the perspective to it. For example, if you read the history of conversion,
right,
forced conversion, it happens more often. It starts from the sea coast and it starts traveling interior. And if you apply your mind very systematically and find out why this is happening more on the sea coast. For people in the sea coast, you and I have deities to worship. You and I have temples to worship. You and I have functions to celebrate. Whereas these people over a period of time have lost their connect to the sea deities. How many temples do you have temples in lands across India?
Right.
How many do you have in the seashore? See, you have thousands of channels today.
Right.
You telecasting millions of festivals of all religions. How many channels are beaming postal festivals? So they looked abandoned.
Right.
And when somebody says, I will take you over, it becomes the transition point. This happens again in economics. This happens also. See, I have very good friends who are all my close friends who have all come up in life now. They used to say, when they belong to that category of people, and they're all people who have undergone oppression, they used to say, we don't want money. We want recognition. See, the philosophy, that's why you say it's plural in nature. So, when somebody says, all right, you need recognition, throw your tag in this religion, come to my religion, you will get recognized. So, these are the areas through which conversion actually happens. So, unless you work on that, it's not possible to comment on this law on a standalone basis. That's my name.
Thank you very much, sir.
Very well, very well explained, sir. Now we have sir second student, Radhika Jagtap. She is the student of LLM. Radhika, can you ask question to sir?
Radhika, namaste.
Yes, thank you, Rajesh sir, and namaste, sir. It was a pure pleasure to listen to your interesting talk. Sir, I would like to ask that, for example, when we speak of secular standards or application of secularism in different countries, let's say USA and India. So in USA, there is a clear-cut language where they say there should be separation between state and the church. And whereas in India, the standards are applied through human rights, where it is said that we all have freedom to worship or right to worship any faith or religion. So from constitutional law point of view, what difference does that make?
A huge difference. It's, in fact, I would say, like Chinmay, this is a very, very significant question. It's a very apt question also. Radhika, you have to see, both are democratic societies, both US and India, but the constitutional nuances are different. You don't have issues like caste, issues like reservation, issues like minority rights. It is when you go in that path of democracy, all of you start from the same point and run the same race, the same distance, and one who has merit reaches. Then you will have lesser problems in that society. For example, within India, you have systems where organizations work purely on merit. Your promotions is on merit. Your scale of pay is on merit. You achieve something, you get paid. Where there is fair competition and fair opportunity, you will not have issues at all. But India is a different case. It has a huge legacy, inherited legacy of one end having oppressed caste and communities, on the other end who have been able to rule this earth. So the bandwidth is too large, and it has several fractions to it. So constitution had to deal caste. See, for example, in the reservation policy, if India, now it is 7 decades old, if all of you can think as students, then how we can achieve the American model? You need to give reservation to ensure the oppressed comes out of that oppression and gets elevated. It's a constitutional obligation. We should do that. Now, but suppose a particular individual has attained, he has become an IAS officer. He has got good education. He has reached some status in the society. Should you continue reservation for that family thereafter? Is something which we should think. Then you can achieve the American model. But who will think about it, because it has a ramification in terms of votes. And every 3 months we go for elections in some state or the other. And even a bypoll is now becoming a war. like a situation. So, like similarly, you gave some rights for the minority institutions 70 years back because assurances were required. Now, what happens? You nuance those rights through judgments or through legislations. Then the majority is saying, why are we not treated as equals in our own country? This is the dimension. So, you are given some benefit assurances based on the backdrop at that point of time. So, should we need to go? So, it's time for you. See, when we are changing everything, when we want an overhaul of everything, all of you as lawyers should also deliberate whether the basic structure document and basic structure principle should remain static or it is better it becomes dynamic. This is you will have to necessarily in your lifetime examine this issue. I do not know whether it will happen in our lifetime, but it's bound to daunt you at some point of time. See, you created a constitution to maintain equilibrium based on the position 70 years back. Now, that is standing up today to expose you the disequilibrium which the system is creating. And therefore, do you need a basic structure doctrine still? Is again one point of view. Then we can reach possibly the American model, either in your lifetime or 3-4 generations thereafter. But somewhere you have to make the move, is the answer that I reached.
It was very well explained. Sir, I have one more student, Mr. Loganathan. Can you put your video on and ask the question to sir, Mr. Loganathan?
Sure. Sir.
Please put your video on.
So very good morning.
Is there?
Sir.
Good morning.
Sir, first that your lecture is very, very, and that you have nicely elaborated the concept of this religion and secularism, which has broadened my understanding. It broadened my origin of understanding this concept, sir. So my question is that, what is the present status of atheism in the concept of religion as enumerated in the Indian Constitution, sir?
What is the present state of?
Atheism.
Atheism, yeah. See, see, don't think atheism is something which is born because of the Constitution or after the Constitution. Atheism was always part of theism. Time immemorial. Have you not seen, even in the days of Ramayana, even in the days of Mahabharata, the conversation between J.P. and Rama in the Ramayana is worth reading. Pure atheism, nothing but pure atheism, filtered atheism. J.P. preaches Rama and has the conviction to convince Rama to say that, no, Rama, you are wrong. I'm right. So, atheism will always remain as part of any cult. When there are people to propose, there will be somebody to oppose. But two things. The Constitution guarantees atheism as also a way of life. It doesn't say you can't be an atheist. It doesn't say if you are an atheist, you will lose your fundamental rights. It doesn't say. Somebody who practices religion will be equally respected with somebody who does not practice religion. But being an atheist is your individual choice. You have no right. You can even profess atheism, because that is also it's also a carve-out of a religion. But you cannot hurt. You cannot talk ill of Mata Sita. You cannot talk ill of Krishna without knowing. Rasa Krida, Krishna, what is it? How can you worship? There is so much in Hindu pantheon of gods. Each episode, each event is embedded to convey esoteric, philosophical, and emotional meaning to it. Unless you read it, unless you understand it, why Krishna danced? No, you don't read it. People who profess also don't read it. And therefore you question it. Then people who don't read it also starts disbelieving it. This is today. So the difference between atheism and practitioners of religion without understanding is rather dangerous. That population is enlarging, especially among the youth. You ask people, they will all say Krishna can't, they will treat Krishna as one more individual. Must know the power of and divinity of Krishna, for which you have to know Krishna, for which you have to read about Krishna, and you must go and see the experiences people have by worshipping Krishna. None of that, when you don't have any of these things, and you will say, show me proof. This is the problem today. So, you cannot hurt another religion, and that is not a fundamental right. This is where atheism stops under the constitutional scheme.
Sir, it was very well answered by you, sir. Sir, really, sir, I have also listened various lectures, but today's lecture is really a very exceptional one to me also, because I have also learned a lots of things and my students are already learning. Sir, for this note, sir, I am very much thankful to you, sir, for sparing a valuable time to our university. And sir, secondly, sir, I would like to invite you whenever any vacation or you will get the time, sir, at our university at a physically, sir. And sir, it is a great pleasure. And sir, secondly, sir, I am getting the messages that it was means they want to ask more question, but as our time constraint is there, but still I will put certain question on your WhatsApp, sir, so that you can just reply for the few students they are already on the lined up, sir.
Please, you can do one thing. This is what I do. You can send me a mail or a WhatsApp. Yes, I will give you audio. Yes, send it to you. You can give it to them. Let's try to address as many issues.
Yes, sir. Now I will tell Ruchi Tiwari madam to give a vote of thanks to sir. Ruchi Tiwari ma'am.
Thank you once again to all of you. And before she says, it's a pleasure to have addressed.
Yeah. Yes, Ruchi Tiwari ma'am.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Rajesh sir. Thank you so much, sir, for Venkataraman sir, for being with us. It was such an enlightening session. And again, I'll thank you on behalf of Parul Institute, behalf of Professor Dr. 𝘾𝙊𝙉𝙎𝙏𝙄𝙊𝙉 sir. It's our privilege to have you. And even I take this privilege to invite you on behalf of Parul University, maybe physically one day, if possible, post-COVID, when everything goes okay. So we'll be lucky enough to have you positively as a physical, in physical over here. So thank you so much, sir, for this enlightening session. I thank all the student participants who have taken out time. I thank Rajesh sir for doing such kind of so interactive webinars and always putting everything in forefront and doing it. And I thank this team of webinars who organizes us such a good webinars for us. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Pranam. Thanks.
So on this note, sir, I am thankful to you, sir, and I am thankful to Mr. Jiten Kobani, sir, for giving a good live coverage. Thanks a lot, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Venkataraman, sir. Thanks a lot, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.